Gridiron Central is sponsored by Georgia Northwestern Technical College, Riverside Automotive Group.
Welcome to Gridiron Central. It is the final week of the 2012 regular season. My, how does time fly past us? We have several games to talk about this week. Not as much drama this week as we normally are used to this time of year because most of the region pictures are clear. A couple of games that are interesting. Of course, as always, with me, beside me, my tag team partner, Matt Davis.
I was waiting for it.
The voice of high school football from 95.7 The Ridge, a very good prognosticator. Hopefully that continues today. We'll go ahead and get started at Adairsville at Coahulla Creek. 97% of our UPick'em users believe the Tigers will win. Tigers are in the driver's seat now for the number 2 spot in their region. If they win, home playoff game next week for them in the AAA playoffs. Matt, any reason to think Coahulla Creek upsets them here?
Probably not. There are a few games that we have this week that I think are gimmies, this one being one of them. Coahulla Creek this year, they are 2-7. They beat Murray County. They beat Sonoraville. Between those two teams, they have one win.
Yeah.
Coahulla Creek, their other games this year, that they lost were pretty decisive losses for them. So I don't know, man. Coahulla Creek has had a really tough year. Adairsville last week, they're flying high because they picked up an upset over Gordon Central, and I think the only people that believe that would be possible probably were the people up there in Adairsville. And, boy, that was a big win for them. And going to this phase of the season, going into the closing week, you would imagine that this is a very, very beatable team for Adairsville.
Yeah.
The only thing that you got to watch out for in a game like this is being too high after that victory over Gordon Central. But I don't even think that's going to make a difference. I think Adairsville gained a lot of confidence from that. They're still a young team. They've got a young sophomore quarterback that we've talked a lot about this year that is really quite good. And I think they're going to have a lot of offense in this game, and they will win the game.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think there are two things that worry me about this game. Number one, Adairsville's up here. You beat Gordon Central, you're flying high. You don't want the letdown game. This has letdown game written all over it. It also has look-ahead game written all over it because Adairsville sees that 2-7 record, and they're thinking, okay, easy win, home field playoffs. I don't remember the last time Adairsville had a home field playoff game, but man, this is great. Last year, they won a first-round game in the AA playoffs on the road. This year, they actually get a game in the AAA playoffs at home as long as they beat Coahulla Creek. Be very interesting to see how all that plays out. The Tigers obviously just want to take care of business, win this one. We both predict it will happen. We'll see you on Friday. We're going to now run through what looks like at least 6 straight UPick'em games where 100% of our people believe one of the two teams is going to win. We start in Region 7 AA. Pepperell, the Dragons, have locked up the number 2 seed into the AA playoffs. They will have a home playoff game against the number 3 team from Region 6 AA, possibly Westminster or Wesleyan. Either of those could be a winnable game for them. 100% of our UPick'em users, mistake number 1 of the day for me, believe that the Dragons will beat Armurchie. Matt, what do you think?
I'm with the UPick'em users on this one. Armurchie has really struggled this year. They've picked up one win. That's against Murray County. And, of course, Murray County has not won a single game. And not only that, they've gotten pummeled every single game. Armurchie has really got some struggles. I think they're kind of in a situation now where they're ready for the season to be over and to move on to next season and try to build for the future. But they got one more game left to play, and unfortunately they're going up against the number 2 team in the region. Pepperell, they start off 0-3, but despite that sluggish start, they've gone on to have an extremely good region record this year. They only lost to Calhoun in region play.
Yeah.
They're a pretty decent team. As we've mentioned throughout the year, 7AA is down, and we'll probably talk more about that as we go along when we get to the model game because you have an interesting scenario which I think illustrates what we're talking about there. So that's something to keep in mind, but I really don't see much potential for an Armurchie upset in this game. They are really, really struggling.
Yeah, the thing about Armurchie, very young team, I think they've gotten progressively better throughout the year, throughout this season. I don't think they're good enough to beat Pepperell at this point, but if Armurchie takes the hard work they've put in this season, does that during the offseason and comes back next year, mistake number 2, you're going to see a team that could quite possibly be in playoff contention in 2013. Didn't happen in 2012. They're probably going to lose to Pepperell. Pepperell, on the other hand, they've got to get everything right. Their offense has got to be great. Special teams got to be great. Defense has got to be great because they've got to be ready for that first-round playoff game. Remember, Pepperell's been punted from the first round of the playoffs 4 straight years. You don't want to make that a 5th. Moving on, Calhoun at Chattooga. 100% of our UPick'em users believe Calhoun's going to win. Calhoun has already secured their 12th straight, I'll repeat that one more time, 12th straight Region 7 AA title. Calhoun is on a 24-game winning streak. The regular season win streak, I don't know if it's quite over 50 yet, but somewhere along those lines, I can keep going and going and going. Calhoun's going to win this one, probably running clock in the second half. Chattooga, young team. They're going to be better next year. Matt, what do you think?
Jim, why do you always want to talk about Calhoun all the time? I mean, my goodness. No, I'm just kidding.
Are you telling me I hate Chattooga? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, here's an
I like Chattooga, but they're not going to beat Calhoun.
No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, Chattooga's been one of those teams where they've lost some games this year, and people said, oh, well, they upset Chattooga. Yeah. Well, now you're looking at it, and you're like, well, the only wins they've had this season are Murray County and Almerchi. The two arguably worst teams in the region. I hate to say that, but I think it's pretty true.
Record-wise, you're correct.
Record-wise, you have to look at that. Chattooga's really kind of struggled this season. They're a young team. They don't have a very large roster. Their depth is not all that good. Their defense has really struggled. They do have speed. Not enough speed to get past Calhoun. Calhoun, obviously the #1 team in the region. They're going to be undefeated again this season. They've got one of the best quarterbacks and one of the best offenses in AA football.
I would arguably say the entire state.
Oh, yeah, potentially the entire state. The one Achilles heel they've had, if there is one this year, has been their defense. Is not one of the best that we've seen over the last several years. Although, I think we have seen them improve on that side of the ball as the season's gone on.
I agree.
So, they're in good form right now. Calhoun really should win this game by probably 40, 50 points maybe.
I don't know if it'll be that big, but I do think you're talking running clock in the second half. Moving on, going up to Region 5, Quad 5, 5A, Rome hosting Woodland in the friendly confines of Barron Stadium. The Rome High Wolves are your #3 seed from Region 5. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They will be on the road in the first round of the 5A state playoffs against either Flowery Branch or Gainesville. A very tough team either way. It doesn't matter. Either one of those teams. Woodland comes in from Cartersville. They've had a tough year. I'm not so sure 100%. I'd be picking this game 100% because Rome has struggled the past couple of weeks against teams that probably should have beaten a little bit better. I'm going to go with Rome. But Woodland would not surprise me here if this was a close game because Woodland's got a lot to play for. They're playing for pride. They're playing for some momentum after the offseason. And while they can't play spoiler here, it would make the offseason a lot more palatable if they could beat the Wolves in this game. I do think Rome's going to win, though. Matt, what do you think?
Hey, pride may become kind of a common theme in some of the games that we talk about today, and I agree with you about that in this one. Rome has had a really impressive record this year. But like you say, they have had some games where, it was kind of questionable whether they'd be able to pull it through. Will this be one of those games? I'm not so certain of that. I think Rome has everything in its corner this weekend. It has record, history, home field advantage. I think all those things put together with a little bit of momentum is going to give them the edge, and I think they'll win this game hands down. I think they'll win by a couple of touchdowns, maybe even 3.
Okay. All righty. Moving on, Coosa and Murray County. Coosa, the Eagles are in a great position right now. Beat Murray County and you're not guaranteed the playoffs because of other things, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on. But Coosa wins this game. They're in very good shape to get either the #3 or the #4 spot into the playoffs, depending on how the Model Dade County game goes. Again, we'll get back to that scenario. That's the last game we'll be talking about. Murray County winless this year. Coosa's going to win. Matt?
This may be a little bit surprising to people that have been following Coosa this year. You can't really call this season a great success. However, if they win this game, and for all intents and purposes, they should win this game. If they do win this game, they'll have a better record than they had last year. Can you believe that?
I remember that's right. They had a lot of close losses last year, a lot of real close losses, but didn't they win only 3 games last year?
They only won 3 games. So if they win this game, that'll make it 4, a better season than last year. And I think there are a lot of positives that Coosa can take away from this season. They really had a slow start. They had a tough schedule in the beginning. They got a lot of young players, but they developed a lot of talent along the way. And even though when they won a couple of games in a row and things were looking really good for them, and then they dropped one to Model and things just kind of fell by the wayside, they've still kept trying and doing well and trying to make strides to move forward. So I think Coosa, when they look back at this season, they've got a lot to be proud of considering the start that they got. So Coosa will win this game. I'm trying to think of any reasons why Coosa could possibly lose this game.
12 turnovers and 200 yards of penalties.
There you go. That's about it. They're not going to lose this game. So Coosa will have a better record than last year.
Yeah, and one more note here. Coosa's a very young team. We've said this a lot about the 7AA teams, but Coosa's in a little bit better shape because of the young teams. they have the chance to go to the playoffs and get that extra game, get that extra momentum with their youth movement. The Coosa Middle School team made the middle school championships last season. A lot of those kids will be 8th graders on that team, will be sophomores on next year's team. Everybody gets a little bit older, a little more experience. Coosa is one of those names that you could literally be looking for to possibly move up to the number 3, maybe the number 2 contention spot for the AA playoffs next season. One more game before our commercial break. Gordon Central at North Murray. 100% of our UPick'em users believe the Warriors will get back on the winning track. Gordon Central lost to Adairsville last week, which means if they win against North Murray and Adairsville wins, they will get the number 3 seed and will be on the road for the first round of the AAA playoffs. Gordon Central has never hosted a home playoff game, and they were within 3 points of doing that if they had beaten Adairsville last week. Obviously, excuse me, if Coahulla Creek upsets Adairsville and Gordon Central wins and they're in, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Gordon Central wins this game, but they will be on the road for the playoffs. Matt?
I'm with you on this one. One of the things that really stands out to me in this matchup is I saw Adairsville play North Murray on the road several weeks ago, and Adairsville tried every which way possible to hand that game to North Murray, and they couldn't get it done. Adairsville still won that game like 70-55. It was one of the craziest high school football games I've ever seen in my entire life. Gordon Central, it had to be pretty deflating for them to lose to Adairsville, but I also think it is going to be inspirational and motivating to them to lose that game. I think everybody thought they were going to cruise and end up 9-1 for the season with the only loss to Cartersville, and obviously that won't be the case.
No.
I really don't think North Murray has much of a shot in this game unless Gordon Central makes a ton of mistakes and comes out sort of deflated from their loss last week. But I just don't see that happening. I think Gordon Central is a very motivated team right now, and yes, they stumbled a little bit, but I think they get back on track this week against North Murray.
Gotcha. We're going to go to commercial break right now, but when we come back, we have another 5 or 6 key games to talk about, including the big showdown in 7AA that has playoff implications written all over it, Model versus Dade County. Stick around.
Begin your future at Georgia Northwestern Technical College. We offer degrees, diplomas, and certificates in over 200 programs of study. Choose a career in business, health, industrial, or public service. With the flexibility of day, evening, and online classes at any of our 5 campus locations, getting your education at GNTC has never been more convenient. There are many financial aid options available, including student loans. Apply now. Georgia Northwestern Technical College. Your college, your town, your future.
Welcome back to the show. We always like to thank our sponsors, Georgia Northwestern Technical College and Riverside Automotive Group, for helping us bring the show to you. Now in our 6th season, the only Emmy-nominated high school football show in the state of Georgia. Always got to get that plug in. Coming back to the action this Friday night, Sonoraville travels to LFO. The Phoenix have only 1 win on the season. LFO was in playoff contention. I believe they lost to Ringgold last week, and that kind of knocks them out of the playoffs. But 100% of our UPick'em users believe the Warriors will beat the Phoenix. Matt, any reason to think the Phoenix pull the upset?
Well, I guess the only thing that I would say Sonoraville probably has in their corner in this matchup is what you just mentioned. If LFO's hopes for the playoffs are done, will that kill their motivation factor in this game? You know, the thing I look at with LFO, they've beaten teams like Adairsville, North Murray, Gordon Lee, Dade County, some pretty decent teams.
Yeah.
Sonoraville, 1 win, that was to Model, and from what I've been told, I wasn't there, that Model basically handed that one to them on a silver platter. Would you say that?
I don't know if it was on a silver platter, but it was definitely on an interception thrown in the back of the end zone. So,
well,
I mean, if I remember correctly, Sonoraville only had like 11 or it might have been 13 plays from scrimmage in the second half and still managed to win the game. So.
Gotcha. Well, nonetheless, I think LFO is a better team in this game, and they should have no problems beating Sonoraville.
I'm going to agree with you 100% on that one, as do 100% of our UPick'em users. That's all of them, if my math is correct. Cedartown at Southeast Whitfield, 97% of our UPick'em users believe the Bulldogs will win this game. The game only matters for pride. Cedartown is out of the playoff picture. Their loss last week eliminated that. Very promising season coming to an early end for a lot of Cedartown faithful. Nick Chubb will end up with a buku amount of yards, but Cedartown not good enough record-wise to get in the playoffs. I think they'll win the game. Matt, what do you think?
Well, Gilmer last week, they were able to do something defensively that no other team has been able to do. They kept Nick Chubb out of the end zone.
Yeah.
They did not score, and he had 121 yards in the game. Now, a lot of other players out there, you say, oh, he had 121 yards in the game. He had a great game. Or
that
had at
probably
least a
cut
good
his
game.
average rushing total down to half of what it normally is.
No kidding.
At least.
Nick Chubb gets 121 yards, and oh my God, what happened? You know what I'm saying? They played Southeast Whitfield earlier in the year. I think the final score is 47-27.
Yeah.
They did kind of open the door and let Southeast Whitfield have a chance in that game. This could be more interesting than people think it's going to be because of that reason. But at the end of the day, I think Cedartown, they've had some disappointments this year. They don't want to end the season in a disappointing manner. So I think for that reason alone, they're going to put a little extra effort into this game so they can end on a good note. And so I think Nick Chubb is going to have a big game. He'll score 4 or 5 touchdowns. He'll be the Nick Chubb that we've seen against most teams this year. And I think that Cedartown will come up pretty strong. But again, you just never know. They let Southeast Whitfield stay in that game the last time they played them. And so I think that is cause for concern.
Well, and let me backtrack just a little bit here. This is a dangerous game for Cedartown because on paper they should win this game going away, but they could not close it. They let Southeast Whitfield get back in the game a few weeks ago. In all honesty, I think that was a turning point of Cedartown's season because up to that point we thought they were a definite playoff team, and after they struggled a little bit with Southeast, yes they won. All of a sudden there was a lot of worries and concerns. Well, we found out over the next 4 or 5 weeks that those worries and concerns were justified. Cedartown was not good enough to make the playoffs. Cedartown, if they're so worried about not making the playoffs, they can easily lose this game. This is not going to be a cakewalk game. Cedartown's got to show up and play, win this game, take that into the offseason, get mad that you didn't make the playoffs, spend all offseason working on that, and come back next year with a senior running back named Nick Chubb and an entire team based around him. You want to win this game, though, and it could be close. Moving on.
I was reading today that Chubb's had 3 official offers. Was it Tennessee, Ohio State, and Purdue?
You start getting major D1 offers like that. I mean, Nick Chubb is, by all accounts, a very talented kid in the classroom, community-wise, and obviously on the football field. You love to see that from local kids in the area anytime that happens.
I hope he has a big game. I
hope so, too. Rockmart at Callaway. 63% of our U-Pick'em users believe Callaway will win. I believe they're drinking some Rockmart Kool-Aid there. It should be about 99% believe Callaway. I think. I'd say 100%. Callaway wins this game. It's not even close in my mind unless it's that crazy time where Rockmart shows up and wins a game they're not supposed to. I don't think that's going to happen. Rockmart, whether they win or lose, the number 3 seed going into the playoffs, and who would have thought that Polk County's lone playoff representative would have been Rockmart, not Cedartown. I say Rockmart lose this game. They're still going to the playoffs. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm very surprised by that. And Rockmart, when I look at them on the schedule, I think, it's Rockmart. They always burn me no matter what. So I can never feel too good about picking for or against Rockmart. So, but in this case, this is probably the best I've felt about picking against Rockmart in a long time. I just think Callaway has been the more consistent team throughout, and I think that is the key. I think Rockmart's inconsistencies will show up in this game as they're going up against a team that has been more consistent. Definitely. And, the only thing that will give Rockmart an opportunity in this game is if somehow, some way, Callaway comes out not ready for the game and starts making mistakes and turning the ball over. And then Rockmart could really make them pay for that. But I just don't think that's going to happen. Too much consistency.
No, I'm going to agree with you there. Obviously, I think Rockmart's going to lose, saying 100% should pick Callaway. So, moving on. Another 100% game.
What does that mean exactly, Jim?
Everybody. Everybody should pick against Rockmart. Anyway, Mount Pisgah at Darlington. 100% of our U-Pick'em users believe the Tigers will win this game. And in all honesty, this is a reach and play-in game. This is a must-win for the Tigers. They have fallen to number 7 in the power rankings. If they lose this game, they will drop even further. I don't know how far. The power rankings are a little bit, I don't know the science behind it. I'm not so sure there is much. But Darlington needs a win here. Would like to bump up a couple spots in the power rankings because, number 1, you want a home field playoff advantage the first round, but number 2, you don't want to have to play a really, really tough team in the first round. Right now, they're number 7. That would be against, if the playoffs started today, they'd be playing Aquinas, if I remember correct. Wait, 7, 8, 160. Anyway, I believe so. Anyway, it's so the math eludes me on this one. 100% of our U-Pick'em users believe the Tigers will win. I'm going to go with that. I think that Darlington knows they need this win badly, and they're going to get it. Matt?
Two things for me, and we've said this often this year, strength of schedule. Darlington has by far had a tougher schedule than Mount Pisgah, despite Mount Pisgah having some success this year. Yeah. But the other key to this game for me is Brad Butler has to be 100%, and he has to play a good game. And I think, those things will occur. I think if Brad Butler is 100% in this game, Darlington will win this game hands down. They'll have some good offense. And, they've stumbled this year. They've had a couple of games that were pretty disappointing, but I just don't think this is going to be one of them. I think they step up big in this one and pick up the win. Gotcha.
Two more games to talk about. Whitefield Academy and Tryon, 100% of our U-Pick'em users believe Tryon will win this game. Really? Did I miss?
That surprises me.
Did I miss? Good night. I talked about drinking the Rockmark Kool-Aid. We're really drinking some Tryon Kool-Aid right here. Yeah. Whitefield Academy is going to win this game, guys. Sorry. They're a better team. Tryon's a good young team. They're a great story. They've won a couple of key games. They're going to lose this game. I just don't think they're good enough to beat Whitefield Academy. I'm going with Tryon in this one, Matt. Excuse me. Good Lord, I just said all that. I'm going with Whitefield Academy. I'll get it right one of these days. Mistake number 3. Matt?
I think mistake number 4 is, isn't Whitefield pronounced Whitfield? It's spelled white, but I think it's actually wit.
Tomato, tomato.
I think somebody told me that.
Tomato, whatever. Okay.
Anyway, nonetheless.
I'm just trying to disrespect Whitefield Academy. That's what it is. You're right. If I remember correctly, covering the state cross-country meet, they pronounced them Whitfield Academy.
For
I was
whatever
snickering
reason.
At them going, ooh, they missed it. Apparently, I'm the idiot. Big surprise there.
You're not an idiot, Jim.
I don't
Just
know.
Look in the mirror and say, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
I'm not as good as Stuart Smalley either.
You know what, man? I'm going to pick Tryon in this game. And the reason I'm going to do that, they've stumbled a couple of weeks. They got back up. They dusted themselves off. And then they carried on and continued the business of trying to win football games, and they won some pretty decent games. Yeah. I picked against them last week. I'm going with them this week. You look at overall record, Tryon's a little bit better. But, of course, Whitfield Academy, what does that look for? They've done better on their side of the region. I don't know. This one's a toss-up for me, but I'm going with the Bulldogs.
Wait, is it pronounced Whitfield? I haven't heard that yet. And for Tryon,
watch me be wrong.
I don't want to say it's a must-win situation, but they really need to win this game to try to move higher up in the power rankings. I'm not so sure a home field playoff game is possible, but if they get a win, they could possibly bump up a couple more spots and get an easier, a better matchup for them. The final game of the Friday night to talk about, Dade County at Model. This one could get a little bit crazy before it's all said and done because there are a couple of scenarios here. 67% of our U-Pick'em users believe the Blue Devils will beat Dade County and grab the number 3 seed in the Region 7 AA playoffs. It's a tie-break game, meaning they get to pick a score. The score picked Model 21, Dade County 18. Everybody thinks this one's going to be a close one. I'm not going to disagree at all. Here's the scenario. I'll get to you in a minute. Model, if they win, they're the number 3 seed. If Coosa beats Murray County in this situation and Model wins, Coosa's the number 4 seed. If Coosa beats Murray County and Dade County beats Model, we have a 3-way tie for the number 3 and number 4 seeds. And according to Ben Carter, who did some research on this, it appears, by all indications, that on Monday night, these 3 teams will meet in a mini-game situation, something I have not covered since my days as a high school reporter back in Florida. Those games are crazy. But that being said, I'm going to say we're not going to have to worry about the Monday night situation. Model's going to win the game. Could be close. I like the Blue Devils, especially at home. If this was at Dade County, I might be flip-flopping on this one, but Model at home, I believe in Coach Powers. I believe this team is destined to make the playoffs. I think they're going to do it. Matt, what do you think?
I agree with you totally. And you got to know that's what's been preached at practice this week. Yes. Let's settle this on the field. This game, let's not have to go to these mini-game situations to get the spot that we rightfully deserve. we're going to take it right now. And I think Model has battled enough and has matured enough as the season's gone on to be able to do just that. I'm extremely excited for Model. I really am. I think this is huge for their community. A couple of weeks ago when they beat Coosa, I didn't think that was going to happen. It did. And I got to say, the atmosphere out at Model was unlike any atmosphere I've seen out there in recent times in terms of football. It was the kind of atmosphere that you see for them in basketball. And I think that's really cool to see happening. So I think Model is going to do well in this game. I think Dade County could give them a scare, but I like the fact that this game is being played at Model. I think that is a huge bonus for them because their fans are going to be bringing that energy. And if you think it was exciting at the Coosa Model game, you got to think they're going to step it up for this game. And I hope they do. So I just want to say I encourage everybody to get out there in the Model community, even if you don't like football, and get out there and root for this team and root for the community, because this will be a big game, and this is going to help them get that number 3 spot. And at the end of the day, I think they're going to pull it out. Well,
in all honesty, this is week 10 of the regular season. It's been 9 years since this late in the season you could mention Model football and playoffs in the same sentence without someone snickering at you. It's there. It's there for the taking. And in all honesty, you know, in an article in the Rome News Tribune this week, I don't know if Ben Carter or Dave Dawson wrote it, you know, they asked Coach Powers at Model, you know, what have you told your kids? And he said, you know, we talked just a little bit about the Monday night possibility. What he really talked about is, let's take care of business. He says, it's on us. We're going to win. I believe they're going to win. 67% of our You Pick 'em users believe they're going to win. We'll find out. It's one of the games we're shooting on Friday night. Speaking of Friday night.
And we'll be there as well.
Y'all going to be there as well? I figured as much. So 95.7, game of the week. One of the Prep Central games of the week. Friday night after the game is over, we'll have our scoreboard show. We'll have highlights from local games. Go to PrepCentralOnline.com to see those. Of course, Gridiron Central right around midnight. We'll have scores from all of the games. Articles about the games on PrepCentralOnline.com, photos, and don't forget, Saturday, later in the day, you're going to have a whole lot of coverage on PrepCentralOnline.com. Kevin Myrick will be down in Columbus covering the state cheerleading championships. I would be surprised if we don't have 2, possibly 3 state champions out of the cheerleading championships. He is. I wish the camera could go in there. If our teams do that, they will not win, I guarantee you. I will be at Carrollton covering the state cross-country championships. Last week I was down in Macon. We had 2 teams get numbered, 2 teams be state runners-up, 1 team get a 3rd place finish. So Saturday evening, all that coverage, videos, photos, articles, you name it, on PrepCentralOnline.com. And, of course, next Wednesday, guess what? We'll be talking playoffs. We'll have all the scenarios. We'll break down the brackets. We'll tell you who's going to win, who's going to lose, how it's all going to go. I'm a little bit excited. We're right on top of the postseason, Matt. I need a fist bump.
There
we go.
That's the first show-closing fist bump.
I know exactly. That was a Ross McDuffie My Special back in the day for those that remember Ross. For Matt Davis, Kevin Myrick, Austin Wiggins, I'm Jim Allred saying I'm excited, and I'll see you on the sidelines on Friday.
Gridiron Central is sponsored by Georgia Northwestern Technical College, Riverside Automotive Group,